Hey honeybees, hope you're doing well. We are picking up on chapter 42 in Wishtree. We're getting closer and closer to the end, and it's getting good. I didn't have much time to mull over my mistake. We had a steady stream of visitors as the hours passed. Early wishmakers came throughout the day. A little girl who wanted 20 hamsters. The grocer down the street hoping for a summer of sweet peaches. The usual. A local reporter returned. She peeked at some of the new wishes hanging from my bows and took a photo of the broken eggshell on my trunk. Sandy and Max came to remove the police tape surrounding me. Francesca joined them. Today she had Lewis and Clark on thin leather leashes. Each cat was wearing an embarrassingly sparkly harness. So here's a picture of the cats. Francesca discussed the broken eggs with Sandy and Max, while Lewis and Clark wove around her legs. I've got a tree cutter coming out later to give me an estimate, Francesca said. So you're definitely cutting it down, Sandy asked, in what I liked to think was a disappointed voice. Yep, no questions. See that muck? All the water in the yard, Francesca pointed at the soggy lawn. Plumber told me this tree is plugging up some of the pipes. Least bit of rain and yards turn into a giant mud puddle. Still, people are going to be sorry to see it go, Max said. He reached for Clark's leash and turned to unwrap Francesca. I know it's a good old tree, but sentiment doesn't pay the plumber. Sandy grabbed Lewis while Francesca attempted to unknot herself from the leashes. What about the animals and birds that live in the trees? She asked. That's where I'm using the old noggin, Francesca said. Every year, the possums and owls and such vacate their premise on wishing day. Strangest thing, it's like they know it's coming. She hopped over the web of leashes. Suppose they don't like being disturbed. In any case, I'm hoping the cutters will come late tomorrow afternoon. Most of the wishing will be done by then. What will you do with all the wishes? Sandy asked. Put them in the trash when no one's looking. That's what I do every year. Whole thing's nonsense anyway. Max and Sandy looked at me sympathetically. I know. I don't have a sentimental bone in my body. Francesca paused to address the cats, who were yanking her in opposite directions. If dogs can do this, why is it such a challenge for you two? She turned her attention back to the police. But it's time, more than time. Well, we're going to swing by tomorrow. Keep an eye on things. No lead on the person who carved that word. But with the eggs and the people just generally riled and the cut down, Sandy shrugged, couldn't hurt to have us keep an eye on things. Thanks, Francesca said. Not necessary, but I appreciate it. Lewis and Clark caught a glimpse of Bongo and lunged for my trunk. Whoa, you crazy felines, Francesca cried, reining them in. They hissed at Bongo. She spread her wings mincingly and let out her most fearful cow. Lewis and Clark retreated for the safety of Francesca's arms. Once again, she was a tangled knot of leashes and cats. Sandy smiled. Maybe leave the cats home tomorrow, Francesca. Probably a good idea. Chapter 43. That afternoon, I met my executioners. Not having teeth, I never really understood the fear people seem to have of dentists. I had overheard conversations where the words root canal and cavity were used, but in the tree world, those have different meanings. After seeing the tree cutters and their equipment, I understood. When a trunk carrying powerful chainsaws along with something ominous called a stump grinder shows up, well, you know you're in trouble. Mind you, an arborist is a great friend to trees. We need our limbs trimmed just the way you need to cut your fingernails and hair, although for us it's only once or twice a year, and it's called pruning. I always feel especially elegant after good pruning, but pruning is usually done with special shears that look like giant scissors or with a small saw on a long pole. Stump grinders are generally not part of the plan. It didn't help when three men wearing orange hard hats went to Francesca's door and announced they were from Timber Terminator Tree Service. I'm going to make a deposit on those silly hats, Bongo muttered. No, Bongo, I said, although the idea was tempting. Let's wait and see What's what? Maybe they're just here for some pruning. You really are an optimist. Francesca walked the men over, this time without Lewis and Clark, and they discussed costs and timing. That's right. They talked about cutting me down, even as they enjoyed the shade from my lovely limbs. Talk about insensitive. One of the men he introduced himself as Dave, climbed a ladder to inspect my hollows. Angie's hairy spider and Big U eyed him wearily, ready to defend their babies. You've got some critters here, ma'am, he reported. Yes, I know, Francesca said. Every year, like clockwork, Bongo flew up to a spot near Angie's. Just one deposit, she said under her breath. That's all I'm saying. Situation like this, we generally advise cutting in late fall, less likely to disturb any nests. I've got that covered, Francesca nodded. Hands on hips, animals and birds hightail it out of here every May 1st, wishing day, you know. Dave scratched his stubby chin. Wishing day? People make wishes, put them on the tree. Animals and birds don't like all the noise. You could do this tomorrow afternoon. The timing would be perfect. You work on Saturdays? Sure do, said Dave. As he shook his head, wishing day, he murmured, Now I've heard everything. Francesca nodded. She patted my trunk. Yeah, craziness. Can't believe I put up with it as long as I have. We're going to stop there. We'll pick up on chapter 44 tomorrow.